Welcome to IspiredFM's special International Women's Day podcast, themed Accelerate Action, Breaking Barriers and Advancing Equality. I'm your host, Arabella, and today we are celebrating International Women's Day by discussing how we can push for real progress in gender equality. The theme for this year, Accelerate Action, is not just a tagline, it's a movement. It's about moving faster, being bolder, and taking real steps to break down the barriers that continue to hold women back. Because, let's be honest, waiting for equality is no longer an option. And with me today is someone who has dedicated her career to advocating for gender equality. She's a speaker, consultant, and champion for women's rights, and she's here to help us unpack what Accelerate Action really means. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Arabella. Wow, that introduction makes me sound way more important than I feel. But truly, I'm honored to be here. International Women's Day is always special to me, but this year it feels even more urgent. We're at a critical point in history where the world is shifting, and we need to decide. Are we just talking about gender equality, or are we actively working toward it?
Exactly, and that's why we're here to have a real, honest conversation about what needs to happen next. So, to everyone listening, whether you're at home, commuting, or taking a coffee break, this one's for you. Let's dive in. All right, Jessica, let's start with the big picture. This year's theme, Accelerate Action, it's a powerful phrase. But let's break it down. Why is it so urgent right now?
Arabella, I'll be honest, the numbers are terrifying. If we continue at our current pace, it will take until 2158 to reach full gender equality. That's 5 generations from now. 5. That means my great-great-granddaughter will still be talking about the same issues we're discussing today. And that's just unacceptable.
Wait, 2158? That's more than 100 years from now. I don't think most people realize how far we still have to go.
Exactly. And when people hear that number, they often say, but haven't we made a lot of progress? And yes, we have. Women can vote, work, lead, and own property. Things that weren't possible just a few decades ago. But here's the catch. Progress isn't the same as equality. We still have massive pay gaps. We still have leadership teams where there's just one token woman in the room. We still have girls being denied education in certain parts of the world. So yes, we're moving forward, but not fast enough.
And that's why we need to accelerate. So, Jessica, what's actually causing this delay? Why is it taking so long?
Oh, so many things. But let me highlight 3 big ones. First, systemic bias. Whether it's in workplaces, boardrooms, or politics, there's still this unconscious bias that assumes men are natural leaders. Second, the double burden. Women are still expected to juggle careers and home life. In many cases, even when both partners work full-time, the woman is still the primary caregiver, house manager, and emotional support system for the family. And third, lack of global policies. In some countries, paid maternity leave doesn't exist. In others, women still can't inherit land. Some places have no protections against workplace harassment. These aren't just small issues, they're fundamental barriers to equality.
Wow. When you lay it out like that, it's overwhelming. But it also makes it clear, if we want things to change, we have to act now. Let's talk about the women who are already pushing boundaries. Who's out there making waves right now?
Oh, where do I even start? There are so many incredible women making history. Let's start with Malala Yousafzai. At just 15, she was shot by the Taliban for fighting for girls' education. Did she let that stop her? No. She survived, fought harder, and is now a Nobel Prize winner advocating for girls worldwide.
Malala is the definition of resilience. Who else?
Another powerhouse is Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder of Bumble. She created a dating app where women make the first move, challenging outdated gender roles. And when Bumble went public, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire.
That's a game changer. And in sports?
Simone Biles. She's not just an athlete. She's a mental health advocate. When she withdrew from the Olympics to focus on her well-being, people criticized her. But she stood her ground. She showed that mental strength is just as important as physical strength.
Jessica, If we're serious about accelerating action, where should we be focusing our energy first?
Okay, Arabella, there are so many areas that need attention, but if I had to prioritize, here's where we must focus our efforts right now. 1. Economic empowerment. Women need financial independence. Period. And that starts with ensuring equal pay. Right now, women still earn on average 20% less than men for doing the same job. And that gap is even wider for women of color and women with disabilities. This isn't just a gender issue, it's an economic issue. If women were paid fairly, it would boost the global economy by $28 trillion. Yes, trillion with a T. Imagine how much stronger our world would be if women had equal financial power. But it's not just about salaries. Women entrepreneurs struggle to get funding for their businesses. Did you know that only 2% of all venture capital We need financial literacy programs that teach women about investments, savings, and financial planning. We need banks to stop seeing women as high-risk borrowers and start funding female entrepreneurs at the same rate as men. Because guess what? Women-owned businesses are statistically more successful and sustainable than male-owned ones.
Wow, that's such a huge gap. I mean, when you put it like that, it's clear we need systemic change to support women financially.
Second, STEM and innovation. This one frustrates me so much because we are losing out on incredible talent. Women hold only 28% of STEM jobs: science, technology, engineering, and math, even though girls perform just as well as boys in these subjects in school. So, what's happening? It's the subtle discouragement that starts early. Think about it. When a little boy takes apart a toy car and puts it back together, people say, "Oh, he's going to be an engineer." But when a little girl does the same thing, they might say, "Oh, isn't she curious?" That kind of gendered thinking adds up. And when women do get into STEM, they often face hostile environments. Many are underpaid, undervalued, and pushed out. If we want more women in tech, we need to change the culture. We need mentorship programs, scholarships, and companies that are truly committed to hiring and promoting women in these fields. Because here's the truth. When women are part of innovation, the world benefits. Did you know that women-led tech companies outperform male-led ones by 35%? And yet, they still struggle to get funding. This needs to change. 3. Reproductive rights and healthcare. Look, this shouldn't even be a debate. Women should have full control over their bodies. Period. Access to reproductive health care isn't just a women's issue. It's a human rights issue. And yet, we still see governments trying to roll back women's rights. In some countries, women have to travel for miles just to see a doctor. In others, they can't even get basic period products. And let's talk about medical research. For decades, clinical trials were only done on men. That means even today, women's symptoms are often ignored or misdiagnosed. Heart disease shows up differently in women than men. And yet, many doctors still don't know that because research was male-focused for so long. It's not enough to say women deserve health care. We need policies that guarantee reproductive rights and medical equity. No woman should have to fight for access to basic care. 4th, women in politics and leadership. Arabella, let me ask you, can you name 5 female world leaders off the top of your head?
Who? Jacinda Ardern, Angela Merkel, Ursula von der Leyen, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and oh, wow, this is harder than I thought.
Exactly. And that's the problem. Only 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Only 26% of the world's politicians are women. And here's what's frustrating. When women do get into power, they outperform men. Research shows that women-led countries handled COVID-19 better than male-led ones. Why? Because women leaders tend to be more collaborative, empathetic, and decisive. We need more women at the decision-making table. Not as tokens, not as diversity hires, but as the leaders the world desperately needs. 5th, representation in media. Arabella, think about when you were a kid. Who were the superheroes, the inventors, the world changers in movies?
Oh, mostly men.
Exactly. If girls never see female pilots, engineers, CEOs, or action heroes, they won't think it's possible. That's why representation matters. We need books, movies, and news stories that normalize powerful women. If a young girl sees a female scientist in a movie, she's more likely to dream about becoming one. If she sees a female president, she might run for office one day. So, in summary, when we talk about accelerating action, we're talking about moving beyond awareness and into real, tangible change. And to do that, we need to focus on the areas where women are still being left behind. First, economic empowerment is key. Women still earn 20% less than men for the same jobs, and female entrepreneurs struggle to secure funding. Financial independence is not a luxury. It's a necessity. We need equal pay, access to capital, and opportunities for women to thrive economically. Second, we have to push for women in STEM and innovation. Right now, only 28% of STEM jobs are held by women, even though young girls perform just as well as boys in math and science. The problem isn't ability, it's access and encouragement. We need to create spaces where women feel welcome in these industries and where their contributions are recognized and valued. Third, reproductive rights and healthcare must be non-negotiable. Women should have full control over their own bodies, and healthcare should be tailored to women's actual needs, not just based on decades of research focused on men. This includes access to reproductive care, proper medical research on women's health, and the elimination of barriers that prevent women from getting the care they deserve. Fourth, we must increase the number of women in politics and leadership. Right now, only 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women, and only 26% of the world's politicians are female. And yet, studies show that when women lead, they bring more inclusive, effective decision-making. We need more women at the table, shaping policies that affect half the population. Finally, representation in media matters more than we realize. If girls don't see female scientists, CEOs, athletes, and presidents in books, movies, and the news, they won't believe those roles are for them. The stories we tell shape the ambitions of future generations, and we need to make sure women are visible in every industry, every profession, and every form of media. At the end of the day, gender equality isn't just a women's issue. It's a human issue. And the faster we act, the better the future will be for everyone. So let's not wait for change. Let's accelerate it. Because together we can, and we will, make gender equality a reality.
Jessica, this has been an incredible discussion. Final thoughts?
To everyone listening, you have a role to play. Support women. Speak up when you see injustice. Challenge stereotypes. Every small action adds up, because together we can accelerate action. And we will.
Jessica, thank you for coming to this show.
Arabella, thank you for having me. It was such an honor to be here to talk about my passion.